appreciate the opportunity to work with him on it. It's a simple question. Do you believe job number one for the United States Congress is the preservation and creation of more jobs? Or do you believe job number one of the United States Congress is to create a huge new draconian regulatory agency, give them the power to ban consumer financial products? That's the question that we have here. Now, what we know is that the president had told us that if we passed his so-called stimulus plan, that somehow we'd be looking at 8% unemployment. Well, we know what the truth is. It's 9.8%, the highest unemployment rate we've had in a generation, specifically 26 years. 3.4 million of our countrymen have lost their jobs since this economic program has been enacted. And my guess is, unfortunately, the situation may get worse before it gets better because of all the debt and deficit overhang. And so I believe that what we need to have, again, is the approach that the number one job of this Congress ought to be jobs. And I must say, with all due respect to the chairman and other members on the other side of the aisle, how you make markets less competitive, how you strip away from consumers their freedom to choose the products that work best for their families, how you make credit more expensive and less available, and then somehow call that consumer protection, frankly, is just Orwellian to me. We have two drastically different versions of what the topic of consumer protection is all about. We need effective disclosure written in English, and instead we have voluminous disclosure written in legalese, much of it which is statutorily mandated by the United States Congress. I mean, in many respects, we've met the enemy, and the enemy is us. And so, again, as we look at this, it is interesting to me, and granted, I don't necessarily worship the altar of every organization that has a Washington, D.C. zip code, but we have the organization that represents the largest number of employers in America, the United States Chamber of Commerce, saying that the CFPA would have significantly adverse effect on small businesses by restricting their access to credit. Some would lose access to credit altogether. They commissioned a study that shows that this CFPA, even with the chairman's different changes, could still reduce net new jobs created in the economy by 4.3%, increase interest rates consumers pay by 160 basis points, or roughly 1.5 percentage points, at a time when people are already losing lines of credit. Meredith Whitney, who is CEO of Whitney Advisory Group, who Time listed as one of the world's most influential people, a very renowned financial analyst, said recently, quote, "Access to credit is being denied at an accelerating pace. Large, well-capitalized companies have no problem finding credit. Small businesses, on the other hand, have never had a harder time getting a loan," unquote. And I certainly see this as true in my neck of the woods in the 5th Congressional District of Texas. Again, why at a time of historically high unemployment? Why at a time when we're in the midst of a huge national credit contraction would we want to pass a law that would restrict credit even more, make it more expensive, not only to consumers, but to small businesses who we need to have to create jobs in the first place? And as everybody goes out and creates their various interpretations of history, again, I don't believe we suffered so much from bad regulators as we did from bad regulation and legislation, a lot of it, again, emanating from this body. When Fannie and Freddie were finally taken over in 2008, they had 10 million subprime and other weak loans that were on their books. We had 4.5 million that were guaranteed by the FHA, and we certainly know what their default rate is. 2.5 million loans made under the CRA, which most analysis would show that 2/3 of all the bad mortgages in our financial system that are now defaulting at unprecedented rates were bought by government agencies or required by government regulations. That is the essence of the problem. And now I'm out of time.